Welcome to the Ground Zero Podcast.
Well, here we are again at the Ground Zero Podcast. It's your host, Andre Person, and I've got my brother-in-law, Cooper, with me. How are you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So we're going to kind of pick up where we've left off when it comes to testimonies. You know, we've been through quite a few episodes now. We're kind of starting to get a feel for what this is going to look like and be like. And you guys got to hear Cooper, the first part of Cooper's testimony a few weeks ago. And man, we got some great response from that. And here in just a little bit, we're going to get a little bit more into kind of the next parts of his testimony. You've heard me share really my kind of life story from age 14 to age 18. Getting saved and having some just radical encounters with the Lord, really finding the call on my life and seeing God move in that and give me direction as to what the rest of my life, you know, concerning his work, what it would look like. And there's so much more to all of that. But tonight we want to just kind of begin to continue in Cooper's testimony. You guys have heard us talk about unprocessed grief. Where we both shared a bit about experiences in our life where we had to learn what it was to grieve. We had to learn to give things to God and just walk through that process. I hope that has spoken to somebody that's listened to it. I hope that you've gotten something out of that. But before we get into that, man, so what's going on in the life of Cooper Smith?
Buddy, just big timing. Just big timing. Getting ready for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Game 1 tonight.
Okay. Oh, Hurricanes.
Yeah. Playing the Islanders.
Yeah.
Currently, right now, as we sit, we're up 1-0.
Okay.
Buddy, hopefully future me is not listening back to this upset.
Saying, oh, no.
Yeah. But as of right now, it's good. It's good. So, yeah, that's where we're at.
Awesome. Well, just to be, one of our goals is to be kind of transparent with our lives and what's going on. And let me tell you guys who chime in and listen, if you guys ever get the chance to pray for us, we'd love that.
Yeah.
We would love that. Because let me tell you, without getting into details, let me just tell you, man, whenever you begin to walk in something that the Lord wants you to do, Satan gets angry,
upset,
and man, our families, both our families we have just been seeing the enemy, at work, trying to just mess with people and discourage us and discourage those around us. But we've also seen the Lord's hand at work.
Right.
One big thing that I do want to share, because it's a worthy testimony. My uncle, one of my mom's brothers, is named Dana, and he just recently passed away. Had kind of a short battle with cancer. It kind of came on him fast and got to his brain pretty quickly. But Dana was one of those guys in the family that we've ministered to on and off for years, prayed for years to come to know the Lord. And seemingly, to our eyes, it seemed like it never really had much effect.
Right.
But I just want to give God praise, because I don't know if it happened here towards the end or if it happened earlier and we just didn't know about it. But he confessed the Lord Jesus, just maybe a week or so before he passed away. And we're just super grateful for that, man.
Yeah, man.
I can't express enough what that means to my mother, to my family, my aunt Vicky as well. She was very instrumental in that, just sharing the gospel with him. My dad just being a prayer warrior, mom being there every step of the way with Dana. My sister Mariah, your wife, being there for mom and also going down there to the hospital. Just really seeing, in the hardest of circumstances, seeing God's hand move.
Right.
And so that one's a victory. That one's a victory to the Lord. We don't have to wonder about Dana
ever
again. And I know that he's to think about the moment when he got to see his daddy, who passed away when he was like 10 years old.
Oh, that's chill bumps there.
To think about that moment when he got to see his daddy and see his daddy with Jesus. That's what it's all about, man.
Buddy, you can't have me puddled up this early in the podcast, son.
Get it screwed
You're
up.
going to have me foul. Golly.
Well, I just know that for everything that the enemy's been throwing at us, God still is doing his thing.
Yeah.
He's still going to get the glory. And man, so where we want to start up with this?
I feel like we just kind of pick up right where we left off.
Okay, well, let's jump into
just
it.
because we talked about getting baptized, and then shortly thereafter that I was able to come home, and I just really wanted to let everybody know that it wasn't like this heaven let your light shine down moment and I floated up through the clouds and I just never did another wrong thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And that it was like this crazy transformation in my life. I mean, obviously it had a huge effect and I carry that with me today, but there was still a lot of bumps along the way to get to where we are now. Which, I mean, that's the journey, man. That's the testimony. That's the gravel and the grit that you get. You find out who you really are. And that was the thing at that moment. Like, I got baptized, I rededicated my life, which was phenomenal. But right there, I still didn't know exactly who I was yet.
Sure.
So I still had a lot of head bumping to do. I remember getting home and just kind of, and anytime you have that big spiritual experience, like going to youth camp, like you feel that fire and you get home and like unless you are actively stoking that flame, it's eventually going to diminish.
Yeah.
Especially with whatever you surround yourself by. So, and I didn't have a great experience coming back home and going right into the church, because I was in a larger church, but it was one that my mother worked at for most of my life. And this is no shot on her. It's just that everybody knew me.
Right.
So everybody knew when I went, I mean, you disappear for 35 days, buddy. People are going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of people that were extremely genuine, like, I'm already getting choked up. Mr. Tommy Todd, who was our deacon for a long time. I remember he just came up to me in the parking lot. We both just sobbed, and he looked at me. He was a little upset. He wasn't too happy with me, and rightfully so. But he was like, "Don't you ever do that again."
Yeah.
And that meant so much to me to see that genuine concern. And as we just got to sit there and hug each other and smile that we were both standing there together. But on the other hand of that, you had all the folks that love to walk up to you and give you that little look and say, "Well, I was sure praying for you."
Yeah.
Which some people mean that like very, very genuinely, and I appreciate that so much because obviously we just talked about the power of prayer, but when it's kind of that little prod and poke, it doesn't really feel that good, and then you feel like the whispers are going on behind closed doors, which especially to someone that just reignited their faith, that it feels a little bit demoralizing. Which these are all things I could have also chose to talk to somebody about. Right. These spiritual men that were still around, but instead I took that as like a little shot. And like a little chink in my armor, and I kept that to myself. Yeah. So I jumped more into 12-step meetings, which, man, I can't even begin to say how helpful that has been, and I still attend, but I'm not really around these God-fearing spiritual giants anymore. Like I'm amongst other folks who still share like similar belief systems, but not exactly what we believe. So I got back into that, and then in comes like I put some weight back on. I was in the gym. I was feeling good. I started getting a lot of attention from girls.
But didn't you still had that long hair though, didn't you?
I was just starting to grow that long hair out, buddy. I was just starting to grow that long hair out. So like, and of course, like I was in a horrible toxic relationship the entire time I was using, and then I started getting some attention from some women. Mm-hmm. But if you're not spiritually fit, how good is that for you? Yeah. So then you get into sexual immorality starting right off the gate, and like what that'll do to you, because you're just filling that hole, right? the hole that I filled while I was in rehab, I got home, the flame got kind of knocked down a little bit, and that hole started getting a little bit more empty.
Right.
And that's what I chose to fill it with, was the gym, sex, and tattoos. Clearly, I've got a couple. You can't see me through Spotify, but you can see if you were sitting in front of me, you'd know that. But so then I kind of floated through that and that internal controversy. The great thing for me is that no matter how distant I got, I never lost conviction. Like I still felt like this is wrong. I know I'm doing wrong. That being said, I also continued to do wrong.
Right.
But
our Pastor Steve at the church that we're fellowshipping at, he was talking about that this week, and how, when you have the Holy Spirit, one of the jobs of the Holy Spirit is to bring conviction to your life.
Mm-hmm.
So and we need to get to a place where we see it for what it is,
right.
appreciate it, and respond to it.
100%.
Because if you're ever in a place where you're doing some things that in your heart are not right, and you're not feeling any conviction at all, you're getting into a scary place.
100%.
So, the word says the Lord chastises those whom he loves.
Yes.
So he brings correction to those whom he loves. So anybody, you're feeling like the Holy Spirit is on you all the time, well, that's because the Father loves you, and he don't want to leave you just the way you are. He wants to help you be more of what he's made you to be.
Right.
So,
yeah. And it's not just like somebody casting judgment at you, because we like to feel that way too, So, then going in, I got a year clean. Buddy, I thought when I had a year clean that I was going to be able to walk on water and heal the blind.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I had arrived. At this point, I was supposed to have the wife, the white picket fence, the dog, the house, all that. I had none of those things, buddy, nor should I have. And looking back on it now, thank God I didn't have those things.
Right.
But it made me I started, and at the same time, my eyes started really opening up to different things. Like I didn't, at this point, I didn't have anything to blame it on.
Right.
And I had to deal with my emotions and my feelings. But I used over those a lot. So having to readjust and try to tackle those things in a quote unquote healthy way, well, that was tough.
That's one of the hardest things. I mean, family that I have that struggled with addiction, and I mean, you hear this recurring theme of now I'm facing all this stuff that I used to get high to not to have to face, to forget. Now I have to deal with all that. And that can be a tough place. That can be a struggle.
Yeah. When
kind of for the first time in your life, you're dealing with the real issues in your life, in your heart, and your mind, and behavior, and you're facing it in the raw for the first time. Some people unfortunately will go back to using. You know. And that's part of the struggle, and that's why it's important. Even though you were struggling in sin, I thank the Lord that you got connected to 12-step program, because God was able to begin to use that in your life.
Right.
So that's awesome. So go ahead, man.
And like you said, that extra accountability was there, because that's the thing that starts happening. It's just the same as using with the justification process, as we try to hide from those feelings.
Yeah.
I can use anything. Even now, I don't like the way I feel. I want to get outside of myself. A positive way would be going to help somebody, and just to see something outside of yourself. A lot of times I'll go to the gym. I hide behind work. And we've had this conversation before. But then, so moving in to about 18 months, we got asked to go on a mission trip from Scotts Hill. And I wasn't even supposed to go on it. They asked me to do some electrical work on this mission trip. Lo and behold, someone else was on that mission trip that wasn't planning on going, and it was your sister.
Yeah.
And that's where we first got to meet, at the Baptist Home for Children in Kinston. We kind of connected there. I'd like to think we connected a lot. She'll probably tell you otherwise. But
right.
But I just knew before I left I had to at least get her phone number. And I did. And I just talking the best game I knew how to talk, which she was in and out of a relationship at that point in her life. And obviously I still had plenty of running around and getting beat up to do. So fortunately it didn't work out then. But then moving forward, I kind of fell right back into the running around with sexual immorality and things like that, to the point where like it made me feel so like I felt so convicted about it, and I just never could really have a healthy relationship with a woman. Maybe that stems from stuff from my childhood. Maybe that stems from just my like trust issues I was having at that point in my life, period, especially with the opposite sex. I could never really just have a strictly platonic relationship with a woman unless they didn't like men.
Right.
Because if there was a chance, I was going to try to figure that one out.
Right.
But to the point of where like I just kind of thought like I'm just not going to get married. Like I don't know, like that's for me. And then, but it's funny how people just get thrown into your life. Mm-hmm. I had started working out at Port City Sports Performance with my buddy Tucker, who was a huge influence in me staying clean. And then I see this dude with the most busted up ears I've ever seen in my entire life. Right, and I could tell you this story because he won't be mad. But I saw him walk in, and I was like, gosh, he just looks so hurt. he was kind of bent over carrying a big grappling dummy. Uh-huh. And then I watched him do lat pull downs. I was like, I don't really know him. That looks painful. Come to find out, it was John Salter. Mm-hmm. And probably one of the most athletic and the best grappler I've ever been around in my entire life. Yeah. Was fighting top 5 in Bellator at that point. And I just looked at him and was like, oof. like that looks rough, bud. Yeah. But then I got to know him and his wife, and man, they just kind of took me in. Yeah. You know, like they didn't really know me that well. I was a friend of Tucker's, and I got to spend a lot of time with them, and that was a connection that God really put in front of me. Just like you know, sometimes we can't pick our immediate family. Yeah. But like they chose me. Right. And that was the first marriage that I've seen that was a partnership. Yeah. And healthy and centered around the Lord, which is something my parents tried to do, but it just didn't happen all the time. But so that I'll never forget, we were sitting there watching a movie one night, and I was like, I want that. Yeah. Whatever they have, I want that. And had some other stuff going on in my life, like I lost my dog, some other stuff we had going on. They always opened their home up no matter what I had going on. They accepted me for who I was. They didn't try to they never tried to force feed me anything. They just love me. And that's that Christ-like love. You know, that people say, oh, I try to do that to the best of my ability. No, these people did it. They had no idea who I was, and they did not care. Yeah. And that whew, man, that's my family. Like John's my brother. Yeah. And but if you're listening to this, I love you. And I couldn't thank you more for the impact you've had on my life. And Lindsay too. Good gosh.
Yeah. Shout out John Salter and Lindsay Salter, and man, we love them. And through you, I've got the chance to meet him and get to know him a little bit. Got to do a little bit of work for him at one of his rental properties. And just top notch guy, man. Yeah, top notch dude. We need him on the podcast. We sure do. So, John, if you're listening, we need you, man. Yeah. He just won his last fight.
He sure did. Yeah. Whew, you'll talk about emotional. You thought I was choked up just then, buddy. Yeah. Good gosh.
I was hooting and hollering right here in the house late at night.
Yes, sir. And the shout out to their little girl Penelope. Good gosh, I love that child. Yeah. I tell you what, they've got a lot of things that have brewed up inside of me. They got like seeing their marriage and being like, I really want that. And then that baby, buddy. Yeah, she could take everything I've got.
But what about that donkey? Ain't they or zonkey or what? Are they got? Or mule? They got a mule.
It's a mule.
Okay, they got a mule.
Yeah. They love that mule.
Hey, what about a mule? You want a mule?
I'm good on that.
You're good on that. I mean, your dog's about that size.
Yeah. So I've got that base covered. So then moving forward, you know, I kind of was like doing I don't know that you'd call it a cleanse or something, but I was just doing my own thing. I wasn't seeing anybody. I wasn't really trying to, because clearly I just didn't have my stuff together, and I could not be in any sort of a relationship with a woman just to be 100% transparent without trying to sleep with them. Right. And that just that wasn't good for me. And like the things that were dwelling inside of me, it just like it was ripping me to pieces.
Sure.
The guilt and the shame, and like not only how I felt, but how I was making them feel. Because I wasn't being very respectful, and I know better.
Yeah.
And that's what hurt me the most. Was because I don't want to cause anybody pain, especially not in that manner. So that was eating me alive. So I was just kind of like, I just need to take a break and do some self-discovery and try to get back to filling the void with the right thing, the Heavenly Father.
Well, and let's touch on that for just a second, because I've been having this conversation with a few people recently. When we're half a person, we're going to attract half a person.
100%.
It's not, and a half when it comes to a relationship. It's not addition; it's multiplication.
Yes.
Right. A half times a half does not make a whole; it makes a quarter. So when two half people get together, they tear each other apart.
Yes.
But when you become whole, and what I really mean by that is when you get secure in your relationship with the Lord, and because of that get secure in yourself, then as a whole person, you're going to attract another whole person.
Right.
And, Bible math when it comes to relationship is 1 × 1 = 1.
Yeah.
You two whole people, when you come together and then, eventually become married, you become one union, one whole person. And that's something our culture, man, we have just thrown away.
Yeah.
We put the cart before the horse. And the problem with when you put the cart before the horse, try going uphill. Mm-hmm. It's okay when you're on a down slope, going slow, right? You get in a relationship with somebody, you move in together, and try when you really when you start facing some real issues and you've got the cart before the horse, and all of a sudden all the problems show up.
Yeah.
Not to mention you have spiritually joined yourself to somebody, as far as in the eyes of God, you might as well be married to them.
Yeah. And
you've spiritually joined. When we come together with somebody, and especially intimately and sexually, the Hebrew, when it talks about that, it's this grafting together, and we literally become one union. Well, then when we rip apart from that person, man, it's like taking two things that, okay. Have you ever tried to tear apart OSB or plywood or something like that? All the glue that's in there, and you start to try to pull the layers apart, and it just frays, and that's how we are.
Yeah.
Like we fray, parts of us get left behind with somebody because we've made soul ties. We've made just that spiritual connection. Then we rip apart. And when we're doing this over and over and over again, we're losing parts of ourselves. Mm-hmm. We're taking on parts of other people, spiritually. And that's something that, we need to understand. And young people, listen, I know it's not the hip thing to date. And I know that the world tells you need to live together so you can figure out if you want to marry this person. You need to sleep together so you can figure out if you want to marry this person. Let me tell you the problem. You're trying to figure out if you really love this person. Love is a choice.
Yeah.
Love is a choice, because I guarantee you every single relationship, I don't care how gorgeous y'all are. There's going to come a day when that stuff starts to fade. Mm-hmm. And when all of the happy, warm fuzzies start to fade.
Yeah.
And you're going to be left with somebody that, is this your partner in life? Right. Is this your wife? Is this your husband? Is this the person you want to do life with? That's what's going to matter. Is this the kind of woman that you want raising your children? Is this the kind of man that you want leading your household? These are the things that we have to be looking at. And this is why, look, I know it's old fashioned, but I dare y'all. I dare you, young people. I dare you to try to court.
Yeah.
And to just develop a friendship with somebody and then let God do something from there. And then when it's time, then if you sense the Lord's in it, then, take the correct next steps. But man, we've got to stop putting the cart before the horse. Anyways, I get on my little soapbox.
I love it. Because you're so right.
Yeah.
You're so right. And But let me get where I'm going, and you'll see that. So then, like I was going through that time where I was just kind of doing my own thing, trying to be by myself. I'll never forget it. I was on the way home from Richmond one night with my dad in the fish truck, and I'd kept up with Mariah for the next 3.5 years. Anytime I'd see those pictures get deleted off of Instagram or Facebook, I'd be like, "Hey, how are you?" And even sometimes, even if that wasn't the case, funny. Like I would kind of just reach out and be like, "Hey, how are you doing?" Sure. Because like there was something that just drew me to her. Yeah, well, of course she's gorgeous. Mm-hmm. That doesn't hurt, but there was just like it was something that I couldn't shake, right? And this is how I was in that time, where like I felt like I could shake just about anything, and I could weasel my way out of any sort of relationship. But just the thought of her, like I could never get rid of it. So I'm on the way home, and she sends me a text. I think it was a Snapchat actually, and I always said that whenever she wanted to have dinner or something, we'd go have dinner. And she texted me that night, and I was dead tired, and she said, "I'll take you up on that dinner," and I said, "You bet." Mm-hmm. You bet.
Now wait. Now, so are you still man bunning it at the time?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh goodness.
Long lettuce, buddy.
So
you got to let the lettuce eat.
And she was about that.
She was. She was.
Oh man.
I didn't have a beard then.
Oh. Okay, you got no beard and a man bun.
Buddy, that's what I'm trying to tell you. You
what
see,
are we working with?
You see the prevalence here. You see how much she genuinely loved me off gate.
Oh, I'm just glad that the Lord had more in store for you.
Yeah, no kidding. You and me both. So then we get into that, and like we're the early beginnings of a relationship. You know, she was coming off of a long relationship, and I was coming off of a hiatus from dating or whatever you want to call it altogether. So like there was a good feeling out period there, and to the point where like I caught some feelings, which I already had feelings going into it anyways, and I caught them real quick, and it scared me. And she loves to talk crap about this, but I ghosted her for like 2 weeks. I just didn't talk to her. I mean, it scared me to death because I had not had like a stirring like that. I don't know ever. And I was like, because she had a history with the ex-boyfriend and all that, and I was like, you know, and there's that thing that we like to do in every aspect of our life if we're not walking the right way, or even sometimes when we are, we like to count ourselves out. So that's kind of what I was doing, and buddy loved to project things that are not going to happen.
No, not you.
Not me, buddy. So instead of having a conversation with her, I just figured I'd rip the Band-Aid off, just like every bad Hallmark Netflix movie you've ever watched in your life. And like I finally had this amazing thing happening in my life, and I just said, no. And and I just remember it was like it was eating me up inside. I thought I was dealing with it perfect. You know, I was, of course, spending all my time at the gym and running, hiding out in a 12-step meeting and not talking about it because that's what I do. And yet again, we come back to John and Lindsay. I'm sitting at their house. We were watching one of the I think it was Thor. Mm-hmm. And I just remember sitting there, and they're like nuzzled up on the couch with each other. And I was just sitting there like, I am so stupid. I am so stupid. And I texted her that night. I ate my crow, and then we started moving forward a little bit. But then you fast forward to where like we seriously started dating around September of that year, and that had come shortly after Justin had passed away, which we touched on in the previous podcast. Yeah. So like that was the beginning. That was the beginning of what was getting ready to come down the pipe for me. And then within a 6-month span of that, my parents got divorced. My sister had some stuff going on with her that we were trying to figure out. And both of my mom's parents died. Right. And my parents did not, it was not a good divorce.
Yeah.
And Mariah never faltered. I would have ran for the hills. She never faltered. She stood right there by my side throughout all of it.
Yeah.
And if you have ever met my wife and you get to know what her love is like, you are fortunate.
Yeah.
Because that is love. It is the most pure, incredible love I've ever known. And she is 100% the first woman I have ever fully trusted. Like I've never. I mean, let's just go even a step further. Like as far as like even as a partner goes, like trusted with my life.
Right.
Like had been able to put that much trust in another human being. Especially day in and day out, because like all these brothers and best friends that I had, like that wasn't, we weren't seeing each other every day. So that just really, really opened my eyes to what we had was like, it was special. And like then maybe I couldn't see it, but looking back on now how the Lord's hand was in all of that, because I can honestly say without her, I don't know that I'd have made it through that. On top of that, after both my grandparents died, I found out my sponsor at the time had relapsed.
Oh, wow.
Another one of my buddies had started drinking again. I was not going. So, like, all that.
I don't think you've ever told me about that part. That
no.
Stuff. Yeah.
So,
I remember there was a lot going on. I remember me and Dad having conversations, and because I still hadn't met you, I don't guess. Not really, because Dad was telling, or maybe if I did meet you, it was just that one night at the house.
Yeah.
But I remember Dad, he would kind of just share some stuff when we were praying for you,
Yeah.
Because I remember there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so of course when stuff like that happens, like with the sponsor and the buddy that decided to start drinking again, I then of course shifted blame to the 12-step program that I'm a part of. And you know what? It's y'all's fault. Screw you. I don't trust you. This is a lie. Oof. Mm-hmm. Oof. And I just remember going through a period of just being so angry, right? And obviously at that point my spiritual connection with the Lord was not very good.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it. And so I was struggling. I was struggling bad to the point like and really without your sister being there with me throughout that whole process and throughout all of the emotions and things I was dealing with, I don't know that I'd have made it out of there clean. I don't know how I'd have made it out there without really, even if I didn't use, without just upending my life completely and everyone around me. Because that's what I like to do when I get upset. I like to let it all burn, especially if I'm not walking the right way. Yeah. So, gosh, and so coming through that, just seeing that special thing that we had together, I remember just like, I'm going to marry her, which I kind of knew early on, like as soon as we started even going through that and I just saw the way that she was, I was just like, this is it for me.
Yeah.
And I just remember like how huge of a decision that is, but I remember the peace that I felt and just would sit there and cry at the thought of like, this is it. This is what I've prayed for. This is probably what my mother has prayed for. I mean, she's told Mariah that many times.
Yeah.
And like that the emotions you feel when like it's like this is it, and I'll never forget like when I picked her ring up, and she had no idea. I just remember I got that ring in my hand, and I just sat there in the car with my mom and I just sobbed, because I was like, this is like just as happy as I could be. I was like, this is so incredible. And then I got to ask her. She had no daggone idea. I proposed to her in front of a waterfall in Asheville. Take notes, gentlemen. But don't pick the farthest waterfall away from where you park your car, because obviously it's amazing to me that she didn't pick up on some things. I'm sure she probably thought we were going to take pictures of something,
right?
Because like we all kind of, I mean, like we ended up going on a hike,
right?
And we kind of like I wore like a button up, and which was not something I usually wear. I still don't usually wear that. And so she kind of got dressed up. My mom did too. And we were just trekking through the woods for what felt like, Mariah will sit there and tell you I'm being a baby. And it was not really that far. It felt like 5 miles to the point where we're walking through the woods, dude. And I'm looking at rock formations and I'm like, oh, that'd be the perfect spot.
Pretty good
Dude, that's the money shot right there.
That's right.
And eventually we got up there. And of course there was a couple hippies in Asheville that were standing there taking pictures. And I was just like, my pocket with that ring in it was on fire.
Get out of my way.
And I just remember getting to propose to her and just like how shocked that she was. And She was so shocked. I've got the video, and you just hear her keep on saying "nuh-uh,"
right?
Because she was losing it.
I've seen that.
And Salter ended up texting me after that. He was like, "Did she say yes in that video?"
Yeah, it's like
because it looks like to me you just kind of put that ring on her.
Sure sounds like she said no over and over and over.
Yeah. And I was kind of sitting there like, "Come on, just say." I know, like you're probably going to say yes, but you could.
It's got to be official.
I could use that word right now. I've never needed a word so bad in my life.
Right.
Gosh. So then the joy of getting to call everybody, and but the real joy came like getting involved in your family.
Yeah.
Because through that time it wasn't only Mariah that I got to connect to and to be a shelter through all that storm. I remember sitting at your parents' house, you being there, even the simple like times where we're just, because we've always had that relationship where we can talk junk to each other and have a good time. Yeah. I mean, but we talk almost every day. Mm-hmm. And I'm long-winded.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, see if I call you tomorrow. I'm sure I'll have something to complain about.
Oh, goodness. I might get some rest.
Yeah.
I might get some work done.
Yeah, there you go. Probably so. But like that was such a huge thing for me, because we marry somebody, you marry their family. In my opinion, I made out a lot better. And that's not to bash my family, because I love my family. And I have a great relationship with my father, my mother, and my sister. But like,
hey, I love y'all. I don't know how about Cooper, but look, let me tell you, I like your family, man.
I love them too.
What are we, man?
I'm not bashing them.
No, you did. You just did.
No, I didn't. But if you let me get where I'm going,
no, I can't.
No, because now you're going to leave this cliffhanger.
I gotta make it really awkward.
My mom is.
And thank you for being part of the Ground Zero podcast.
Yeah. Wow. Dun, 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 dun. Right now, because you've taken this on for so long, when this airs, my mom is calling me right now.
I know, right? That's what I'm thinking.
That is not the case. That is not what I'm trying to say.
I'm going to have to buy her dinner.
Just shut up. Just shut up. Shut up. Let me go. But what I'm saying is I got to come into a family that was spiritually gifted.
Sure. Okay.
And that was extremely oriented in that way. And something that I had been longing for in my life. And it wasn't something that was really prevalent in mine at the time because of everything that was going on. See, that sounds a lot better than where you left me, bud. Gosh. You want me to change the oil on this bus you just threw me under? Or
you know what? The best part is like we are not editing anything.
No. I mean, I don't want you to, because this is hilarious. But at the same time, like, until it gets right there, my people want to kill me. Golly, son. Anyways.
We're going to find all your skeletons.
Golly. I've already talked about all of them.
Well,
that's the beauty.
I'm about to go have a talk with your mom. We're going to find some more.
No. We've had that conversation on here. I mean, that's the beauty about doing this too, is like the transparency and the open honesty, buddy. Everything that I have gone through and the crap that I have faced, I get to speak about, and the whole world gets to hear it, and it is immortalized.
Well, on a serious note, that one thing I've always said is if you'll tell your story, then the devil can't.
Yeah, 100%.
You know,
100%. So, well, the devil just tried to make it seem like I didn't love my family that much.
No, that was me.
Yeah,
that was me.
Oh, okay, the devil, you know.
Who needs enemies?
Yeah. Perfect. But getting back into that realm, gosh, like that was something I was longing for so much, because I had those feelings, those urges, and that want to connect and to dive deeper and deeper and deeper into faith. But I wasn't surrounded by that necessarily, aside from when I was with John and Lindsay, and the few other people in my life. But now that we had become family, that was something that, buddy, you've had conversations with your father and dad. Son, you're going to know about it.
Well, yeah, it's not, he ain't going to wait too long before he's going to throw you in the deep end.
Oh, we went to Max's Pizza.
Uh-huh.
And we had that conversation.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But that being said, like, it really pushed me into that.
Yeah.
And then the relationship we formed, which even though you just tried to kill me on air, like, has really, like, that caused a lot of stir. And like,
well, but like, honestly though, now, so when we really started developing a relationship, I was in a place of, I had been in ministry forever. We had all kinds of stuff just going on in our own family, with our girls, and I had taken sabbatical, and I was trying to figure out some stuff. In fact, I guess a couple episodes ago, I was sharing about how, when we lost a baby, and we talked about that in the unprocessed grief episode. So I was actually, just to kind of give the time frame about when our relationship, when we started building more of a relationship, I was actually kind of in not the best place, not that I ever ran from the Lord or but I was still trying to figure some things out. I was still working that bitterness out, which was, when you're working on that bitterness, sometimes you just got to walk through some other hard things, and
yes.
But if I'm honest though, the Lord had, I don't know what the time frame is exactly when we're talking about it, but I shared that testimony about the Lord kind of giving me the vision about Jesus having his arm around what I believe is my son,
right?
Saying you're really going to, enjoy him, love him when you get to meet him. You're really going to like him when you get to meet him, was what the Lord had said. And anyway, so, I had that healing moment where, all of those questions in my heart were answered, all of the bitterness towards God and the angst. And when I finally understood that, it was the blessing of God, it was the goodness of God to let us conceive.
Yeah.
And instead of just being so focused on what I lost, when I finally was able to see that I'd gained a son for eternity, that's in heaven for eternity. So when that all flipped, it healed the things I was dealing with in my heart.
Right.
I was good. Now, the next thing that I was battling with, which led me to, I won't call it a dangerous place, but I don't know, it could have been, is I just, from having been in ministry so long, having been through a lot of things, a lot of hurts, I just didn't necessarily want to jump out there and be very vulnerable again.
Right.
Whenever you're in leadership, in ministry, you're exposed to a lot of people, and people are people, and you're ministering to broken people, and those broken people in turn, that sometimes being in a relationship with them is hard, because it's with anybody, but, when you're trying to lead people that are broken, sometimes they turn on you. So, there's just things that happen in ministry that, you end up taking on a lot of things. And I was really struggling with, I was getting comfortable, sitting on the sideline.
Yeah.
I guess is how I'd put it. I was kind of getting comfortable with the idea of, what, I'll just do me, I'll just do me, do some fishing. I don't necessarily need to do ministry and everything. And I do remember one time the Lord giving me the 2x4 moment, we like to call it, where I was really letting God know, if I don't have to do ministry type work, ever again, I'm okay. And in one way it was good because my whole adult life had been identified by being a pastor. And so then when I wasn't, I didn't really know who I was. So there was a good thing where the Lord re-identified me as just his child and me reconnecting to him in that way, instead of it being through him having favor towards me because of the work I do for him. Yeah. Right. So when that, it was good that I was able to get that straightened out. But the thing about the calling of God, the gifts of God, when he puts them on your life, they don't really go away.
Yeah.
And so I remember telling the Lord, I'm like, I'm good if I don't, I'm good with you. We can just do our thing. And I remember very plainly just really hearing the Spirit of the Lord say to me, it ain't time for that.
Yeah.
And the rebuke was very stern. It's it ain't do you see the world out here? It ain't time to pack it up now. It's time to get busy.
Yeah.
And, and then you and I, we kind of went through this period of time of just, we were talking more about the things of God, and you were being awakened a little more to some things, spiritual things. And I was kind of having just that thing, that fire inside of me starting to get stoked again. And, it's funny too. I know you remember the conversation we had where we're like, man, God's really about to do something.
Yeah.
We both knew, hey, something's about to happen. And it was that next day. It was
Yes.
the next morning.
Yes.
When Pastor Steve asked me to speak at New River, and that we were going to lead worship.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the beginning of where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So that kind of fast forwards a bit. But so I guess I don't know where we left off with you, but let's just kind of jump back.
No, that's fine. That's totally fine. That's kind of where I was going with it, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so funny that we had that conversation. Then literally the next day, you got that phone call because I had felt that stir in me too. But still, like this is still not at that point was not something I was 100% used to yet because I wasn't that in tune and because like I felt that movement. That's why me and you were even having that conversation in the first place because I just kind of wanted some spiritual guidance in that realm and. The next morning.
Yeah, it was so funny. Because I hadn't preached or led worship in nearly 2 years.
Yeah.
Nearly 2 years. I'm maybe a year and a half or a little more than that.
Right.
And we're talking about all this stuff, and it's like, man, really think the Lord's getting ready to do something. And then 8 o'clock the next morning, I get a text from Pastor. But, well, let's jump back. I don't know where you're wanting to go, but, man, I want to say, so where you had kind of left off, was still before y'all got married.
Yes.
But, man, y'all's wedding was a blessing.
Dude.
Y'all's wedding was like literally, and I've performed a lot of ceremonies, a lot of weddings. I gave Mariah the hardest time forever when she asked me to perform the wedding.
I'm sure.
I told her I'm not doing it.
That's what you do.
So I'm not going to do it. Hey, I'm not pastoring anymore. I'm not, I mean, I'm still ordained. I'm still licensed, but I get, man, the hardest. Every time we go play tennis and she'd say something about it, I'm like, nope, not me. I don't do that. You're going to respect my wishes.
You're lucky there was a couple times where she may or may not have thought you were serious.
Well, I'll be honest. At first, I might have been a little bit serious, but I mean, I'm not going to say no to, that wasn't ever going to happen. But I'll tell you what, man, and this is in the middle of COVID.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right in the middle of COVID, and y'all are doing this outdoor wedding.
Uh-huh.
But it was the most beautiful and fun and spiritual wedding that I've ever been a part of.
No. And let me just go ahead and put this out there that I can take credit for none of that. None of that. I helped with the guest list.
Uh-huh. You had a lot of people there too.
Yes.
That's a big crowd.
So fortunate, man. So fortunate. And I helped like look at some things for tent rentals and stuff like that. Mariah worked tirelessly.
Yeah.
And did a absolutely amazing job, dude. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I think both the moms pitched in too.
Yes, of course. Of course. We got to give them their flowers as well. They did a great job too. Yeah. And then all the people that came and helped, like Lindsay Salter, pregnant.
Yeah.
Casey Selecki just had a newborn. Our other friend Haley was out there. I mean, Carly was out there sweating. Oh man, let me just go ahead and tell you this because my name was Mud. I went duck hunting that morning.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Because it was the opening day of duck season.
I remember.
And
Mariah was not the happiest about that.
She would have never told me no. And I, of course, buddy, I still do this, and it's something I've been working on. That justification, buddy, that like, well, I can't see you anyways, you know?
Right.
How can I be there?
I might as well get up at 4 a.m. on my wedding day and go out in the water.
And so then me and the boys, you know, what a ragtag bunch I had. The best friends in the world, but gosh. Buddy, sometimes the worst. And me and the boys rolled up.
Charles.
Son. We're going to do a podcast on him one day.
Charles.
And
we need Charles to talk about some Jesus.
Yes, please. No comment. Anyways, so we're just all hanging out there drinking Red Bulls. You know, we were hunting in the morning and we're tired and we're just kind of standing there and I'm like, gosh, it's kind of hot, you know, and we're standing over there by where they were getting ready to put like some of the beverages and stuff like that. And I just remember seeing this sweaty group of pregnant women and my sister and all that.
Busting their tails, setting up.
Yeah, it was almost done. It was one of those things where you show up and ask if you can help when all the work's done. And you would think that was a blessing, but boy, I did not feel good about that. And so, babe, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
but that being said, the wedding. I mean, it was absolutely amazing, and amidst the pandemic, whatever you want to call it, there was about 300 people there.
Yeah.
There was my aunt had a mask on, and because that was what she felt like she needed to do.
Yeah.
Love that woman to death. But other than that,
but you know what I loved about that is she did what she felt like she needed to do, but she still came to support you.
Absolutely not. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and never said a sideways word to anybody else.
Love that.
That's not who she is.
Yeah,
that's not who she is. That Aunt Lou has been such a huge pivotal part of my life. Just from conversations we had from before I got clean and stuff. She was always there. You know, so I couldn't be more thankful for her and thankful she was there in that moment.
There was a lot of people. I mean, our family was there too, but. I mean, y'all probably outnumbered us like 90-10, but you had a lot of people come.
Yeah,
that love you.
That was
that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget just standing there because somebody told me this. I think it was Jacob Lee, one of my buddies from work, and he sat there and said, "You need to take time and you need to stand by yourself for just a second, and you need to look around.
Yeah,
because besides the time you get married and the time you die." This is the only time everyone in your life that you love will be in the exact same place.
Yeah.
And I just stood there and just was like in awe.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good.
And then what was crazy about all that? We had no COVID. 300 people there, not one person. Yeah. Hey. Say what you want to say.
We're too far in the podcast to get into that.
So. No, we're not going to get into it. I just wanted to put that out there. And we had the most amazing part though was Mariah talked about something special that we could do. Mm. You know, like people sometimes will do that. I'm not taking shots at anybody, so if you want to do this, I'm not calling you dumb. But we are getting late in the podcast. We just start talking. It's getting a little late in the evening. Like where they put they would tie a knot or like pour 2 cups of sand in the same jar. But one thing that always stuck out to me as a kid and growing up in the church was that whenever somebody was getting ready to go on mission, they would have them come up to the front. They would have an altar call, and everybody in the entire church put their hands on them. Yeah. So to me, that just was like, this is right. Yeah. You know, and I was like, this is the moment, and who better to do that than your dad? Yeah, because he sat there, and I remember he got his Bible out, and we both know your father and love him dearly, but it was funny to see the reaction because, you know, he takes his time getting his stuff together and then just speaks in that deep voice that he has. It's just like, if you didn't know him, buddy, you would just want to stand there and talk to him for hours. Yeah.
Spiritual Sam Elliott.
Golly, buddy. I'm trying to tell you, son, he'll put it on you, boy.
Yeah.
And I just remember somebody coming to me, I have got to talk to Mariah's dad. I remember, I think it was Zach, my buddy Zach Weisenhunt, who it was their property that we used. Huge thanks to him and his wife, Kyrie, for letting us use their property for that. I mean, dude, we got so blessed by the whole situation. Zach ended up standing there and talking to Dad for a good while after that. Yeah.
Well, I swear, I think that, you know, of course, you guys are the stars of the show, but he was the next star.
Boy,
of the day, of the night.
Yes, sir.
He was looking good.
Hey, that navy suit he had on, which he kind of, because
shoes, he had them nice brown shoes. They were nice too.
He tried to. If he listens to this, I need him to know. He kind of, I think, I could be wrong, but he said we got those suits from Express,
right?
And but it was a great suit, good color. And he kind of was like about it. He got that suit, blue, buddy. He looked like a stud, dude. Yeah, no, just as good. Clean and crisp.
I'll tell on him. You know, one day we'll get him on here. He can share some stuff.
Yes, sir.
But he was really in, he was in his happy place because one of his prayers had been, because there's a lot of space between me and Mariah, right?
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, there's 14 years between us. Mm-hmm. One of his prayers, like one of his bucket list things in life was to see Mariah get married and be able to walk her down the aisle.
Yeah.
And, you know, and he had a run-in with some cancer before that, you know, where unfortunately it was non-cancerous, but he had these, like, I don't remember how, like 20, 30 tumors in his gut that he had to have removed. But it still was kind of, then he, you know, and he has had to go, over and over and get that, he's got to go periodically to get that checked out, make sure, everything's good. But it was just, it was such a good moment because that was one of his things he had been praying and just asking the Lord for, It's like just, I really want to walk my daughter down the aisle. Yeah. And he's doing good, he's in good health. He's doing good. So, I mean, that's all a blessing. But, but that was, it was a great moment. And then, Mom was a puddle because that's Mom, Yeah. She was just a puddle, but, but just as beautiful as she could be. And
good gosh, yes.
Seeing them together that day, it was good, man. Seeing your mom and your dad. And, I mean, I don't know, the whole thing. Your wedding was a special day. It really was. Yeah. And I don't really care for weddings that much.
Me either.
I probably should, but I'll be honest, maybe because I'm always performing a wedding and not necessarily going and enjoying a wedding. Yes. And I say that sounds so bad, but let me bring you behind the
people that go to a lot of weddings know what you're talking about, dude.
Come behind the curtains of a minister, right? It's like, oh, do I got to do another wedding? But there's certain ones that, your guys really is at the top of my list. Some friends, Mike and Sarah Owens, they're probably next on the list that, just certain people that you get the opportunity so I got to perform your all's, wedding. And, when you get the opportunity to be part of joining two just really special people together, that is an honor. I shouldn't come at it as lightly as I do sometimes, but that is an honor. I think about my buddy Michael and his wife Miranda, and then another friend Brian Parker and his wife Miranda also. You guys are like my top 4 on weddings, and hey, and my percentage, my success rate has gone up a lot because all y'all are still married, and that's why y'all are my favorites.
That's right.
Some of the first ones I married, they didn't last very long.
Oh boy.
Anyways,
we ain't got to get into
that's
that.
on them. I can't do nothing about that.
No, but I think what was great too, because when we first started planning the wedding, which just seems so like anytime you get into planning a big event, I get really overwhelmed. I'm sure everybody does, but like I just couldn't. I couldn't get a vision of it. Mariah had one after we looked at a couple of places, especially when Carrie and Zach told us we were going to use the property, and then she just took off and ran with it. And then to be there in that place, what to me what was so special was obviously that moment we all shared up there, and that big kind of no fear moment that we had, and then like just to feel the love from everybody that was surrounded us, and not just that they loved us, that like it was just like everybody was just so happy to be around. Like even down to like one of my friends from elementary school worked at Port City Java for a little while, and one of my buddies from the gym was his favorite barista, and like it's just like different little connections like that all throughout the whole day. Gosh, yeah, man. We think and we talk about that a lot, dude. Yeah. It was a huge blessing. Yeah, it was a huge blessing.
No, that was special. Well, I think we're probably at a good stopping point. So, I guess, hey, let's wrap it up and pray. You want to pray us out?
Yeah, I'll pray. I'll pray. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the day. We thank you so much for allowing us to be here and to be able to do something like this, Lord. And we ask that whoever's out there listening, that this message gets to them and softens their heart, Father. And we just thank you so much for the struggles. We thank you so much for all the things that we've gone through that helped us figure out who we are and help us grow in you. I thank you so much for the things in my life that have allowed me to look nowhere else but you, Father, because of a hard-headed wretch like me, Lord. That's just what it took. And I thank you for my brother Andre, and for us being able to sit down and have these conversations naturally, and for us to do it without ego being involved, Lord. And we just thank you for the platform that you've given us. We thank you so much for the opportunity again, and for all the things that you have going for us in our lives, Lord. And we ask that anybody who's out there listening that feels as we did in those times in our lives, that it's that next thing could be right around the bend, Lord, and that they just need to trust and have faith in you. And I ask that you continue to grow in my life, Lord, and with the areas that I'm struggling with and that we're all struggling with. And I just ask you to be with our families, Lord. I ask you to be with my father. I ask you to be with the Persons as they're going through a time of grief, and anybody that's out there grieving, Lord. I ask that you show your face to them, Lord, because we can fill this hole with all the things in the world, and it will never be full unless it's with you. Yes. And I thank you for that realization in my life and what it means to me. And I just pray that through this, that somebody else gets to have that realization, because if even one person comes to that, all the pain and all the struggle and all the things that we've had to battle were worth it. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Well, that's another one down. We will talk to you soon.
For more information about the ministry of Ground Zero, go to our website at groundzeronc.com. To contact us, email us at info@groundzeronc.com.